Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the webinar, Product Data Maze, Finding the Path to Operational Excellence. We'd like to thank our presenters, Liz Thurtle and Reed Jackson. Next slide. The agenda for today, we're going to go through some housekeeping items. I'll introduce you to the presenters. We'll talk a little bit about Conexxus, and then we'll have some time for questions and answers after the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available in approximately 7 days on our YouTube channel and also on our website. The slide deck will be made available about an hour after the presentation. You will receive an email with a survey link. It's about 4 questions, and if you complete that survey, the presentation will be provided at the end of that survey. All of our participants are in listen-only mode, so please ask questions via the webinar interface. There's a little question panel towards the bottom of your screen. You can ask us questions there. We do ask that you not ask any vendor-specific questions, though. Our webinars also may be used toward PCI continuing education credit, so please contact A. Russell at conexxus.org for any questions regarding a certificate of webinar attendance, and you can email info@conexxus.org with any questions. I'm Allie Russell, your Conexxus host and moderator for today. Our speakers are Liz Thurtle, Senior Director of Community Engagement for GS1 US, and Reed Jackson, the Senior Director of Corporate Development at GS1 US. So thank you all for being here. We are looking forward to all the information you have to share. A little bit about Conexxus. We are an independent, nonprofit, member-driven technology organization setting standards in data exchange, security, and mobile commerce, and providing vision to identify emerging technologies and trends. We advocate for our industry, believing technology is policy, and if you have any questions, again, you can email us at info@conexxus.org. We've had a full 2020 Conexxus webinar schedule so far, and we are continuing to fill this out. So you can visit our website to look at what our upcoming webinars will be. Next slide. And so far we're booked through September, so stay tuned for even more great information. And with that, I'll hand it over to Liz and Reed.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Allie, for having us today. Reed and I are very excited to be here and to talk to all of you about product data and how using standards can help your business. As being a part of Conexxus, you already realize how important standards are. So we're just going to share with you kind of a consumer lens for standards and how it can work in the convenience store. We're going to talk a little bit about data for price books, accurate information, the importance of that for loyalty apps, and really, full supply chain traceability and how and why that is important. Just like Conexxus, we have an antitrust caution. GS1 US is committed to complying fully with these laws. If that conversation is getting close to being uncomfortable, I'll cease the discussion and we will move on to the next topic. Okay, so let's get going with the fun part. We know that business moves really fast. But back in the 70s, it wasn't moving quite as fast. And there was a need from a grocery perspective to create a standard so that the checkout process would happen more quickly. It was a manual process. The folks at the checkout were having to manually key in all of that product information. It was slow and error prone. So the UPC was created, and it's been used ever since. So today, that's really how it started, and we'll talk about how it's evolved from a standards perspective, how those standards are being used, and then Reed is going to go into the really fun stuff and how technology advancement and emerging technologies is helping this space and other spaces move forward. So GS1 is in a unique position. We're neutral and not-for-profit and user-driven and governed, which really means that we have the ability to bring industry communities together to solve business problems. And that could mean peers in like industries. That could mean competitors, solution providers, coming together to figure out what a problem is and how to solve that. So by doing this, historically, there are about 100.5 million companies in the world that use GS1 standards. And daily, there are more than 6 billion GS1 barcodes scanned every day. So whether or not you're familiar with GS1, if you're in the convenience store space on the retail side, I guarantee you're using this information at point of sale. And then 25 million products are assigned within Data Hub. We'll talk a little bit more about Data Hub in a few slides. And 30 million products are within the GDSN, or Global Data Synchronization Network. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So we're in the business of progress, and we know that everything changes. I mean, what's going on now, right? Everything changes on a daily basis. So how can we bring everybody together to think, what is that problem? And how can we create best practices with our trading partners and peers to move all of this forward? So GS1 US is a member organization of a group of 110 plus member organizations. And this gives us the ability to hear what's happening globally within different markets. And we can learn from them and bring some of that knowledge as it's appropriate and applicable to the US market. So we get to talk to Australia and how they're dealing with some produce industry issues. We can talk to Canada and see how they're working with cannabis and how and if that could apply to us in the US, because I know from the convenience store space, that's something that you guys are talking about. So we're in that, again, a unique position to have a global reach and global perspective with all of the other GS1 member organizations. So a little bit about GS1 US as a unique space. We serve more than 300,000 businesses across 25 industries here in the US. However, we really focus on apparel, general merchandise, healthcare, and what's important to you all is food service and retail grocery. We work closely with the companies in those verticals on how the standards are used, and potentially if there's new standards that need to be created. Because while we have standards that are in place today, there are new things that are happening every day that Rita will talk to you about. And while we may have a standard, it may need to be tweaked or added to, et cetera, to be able to be used in the future. So we're constantly trying and working with you all to evolve and make sure that we have viable solutions. So how this is really done is we take the industry. So I'll talk just from a retail grocery perspective. So we have a retail grocery group that works together to figure out what a problem is. So is it a delivery problem? Is it an invoicing problem? And we talk through the requirements. We talk through the potential solutions. That could be we already have a solution. We just need to figure out how to educate on how to use that particular standard, solution, et cetera. And most importantly, and we really depend on industry to help us with this, is how we get adoption and usage. Because without adoption, we're all using one-offs, we're not using a standard, and we're all doing a lot more work than we necessarily need to be doing. And I know you guys all from a standards perspective and standards hat totally understand or are on board on that. So let's think about what a consumer wants to know. And I know that a consumer wants to know a lot. And like I said, we've historically focused just specifically on retail grocery and food service. But really, these two intersect perfectly from a convenience store space. And retailers and consumers really want to know about the ingredients, the product sourcing, allergens. They want to know where their products came from. They might want to know what chicken it came from. I'm hoping it doesn't get to that, but you never know. So it's really important to understand how we as a supply chain group can come together and help all of us, all of these supply chain roles, get the information that our ultimate customers are looking for. So we'll start with the basics. GS1 talks in a language of identify, capture, and share. These are the three caveats of what we do. First, we have to identify something, because if you don't identify it, you don't know what it is. You have to capture that information somehow. So a data carrier, or we'll talk about RFID. And then most importantly, we share that information. So we'll go through identify, capture, and share, and the importance of having this foundational information. And when you have this foundational information already in place, it's very, well, I'm never going to say it's very, very easy, but it's much more simple to be able to get people, consumers, trading partners, the information that they're looking for in a timely manner. So where all of this starts, very first, there's a GS1 company prefix that the GS1 member organizations license to companies, to brand owners. So all the brand owners that you work with have a GS1 company prefix to help identify their product. That company prefix then can assign these different identifiers to products, places, assets, etc. The one that you all are most likely more familiar with than others is what's on the right, which is an EAN UPC. This is what's scanned at point of sale every single day across the checkout. Those first digits are the company prefix. So if any of you have a bottle of water, a soda, a snack on your desk, you can go ahead and look at those first digits and know that now you know what a GS1 identifier is. That is the company prefix, and that's where all of this information starts from. Those numbers also are variable in length. So if you have a very small company that only needs one, you can get one prefix. You can also license a prefix that will give you up to 100,000 identifiers. So just to have that in the back of your mind. Okay, so let's get started with identify. So you'll see from this slide that you have lots of different things that you can identify. You can identify a place, so a manufacturer with a global location number. This number is really important when we start talking about supply chain visibility, because you need to know what is happening where. You can't have supply chain visibility if you aren't identifying the location. And think about how much more powerful your identification can be if it's a commonly used language that everybody can understand. The GTIN, or Global Trade Item Number, is what you would use to identify a product. So in the convenience store space, I'm thinking of soda, beer, snacks, water, sunglasses, chargers, anything that you sell in retail locations should have a GTIN on it to be scanned at point of sale. And those are all unique numbers for that product. Moving on to capture. So the numbers that you captured here in the identification piece all have to be captured somewhere to make them usable. So when you see a barcode or those vertical lines, that's just the thing that enables the data to be captured and read. So if we start on the left side of this slide, you'll see what we talked about in the slide previous with the EAN UPC. That is used at point of sale. It is just simply capturing a GTIN, or that item number, and is used everywhere, right? The barcode that's under that may be familiar to you because it's used on loose produce. Those little squiggles in the middle there are actually the GTIN, which nobody can read. But that information is very much being implemented at point of sale for loose produce, and also has the PLU on there as well. So you'll see the 4011 for bananas. But as you are more aware of these identifiers and data carriers, you'll see them kind of more and more everywhere. And then you'll feel kind of geeky like I do on a daily basis. If you move into the case space in the middle there, you'll see two different barcodes. You'll see an ITF 14, This is used less and less, but still at a case level because it only carries a GTIN. If you look at the GS1 128 barcode, that barcode is being used more and more, especially from a food service perspective, because not only does it carry a GTIN, but it carries batch and lot number. It could carry date. It could carry production date. So people are leveraging that information more and more as they talk about more visibility within the supply chain. So you'll see that extended GS1 128 more and more as people are trying to get more traceability information. Also, what's interesting is you'll see the RFID tag on the bottom. Many of you are aware of our RFID from several years ago. It's really advanced, and we see the technology making a comeback. And it's being looked at right now from a food service perspective. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out and how from a convenience store space, it can be used and leveraged in the future. So we'll keep our eyes on that. And then the palette is very similar to the case. You can utilize an ITF14, a GS1 128, or that EPC-enabled RFID. And then moving into what I think is kind of the fun stuff. We'll go into each of these kind of on their own so that you can get a flavor for how this works. But from a high level, product master data can be exchanged by a global data synchronization network, transactional data via EDI or electronic data interchange, and then physical event data via EPCIS or electronic product code information services. So let's start with GDSN because it's master data. So that's kind of that base information that all brand owners should have within their four walls. And using this, it's not actually used much yet from a convenience store space, but it could be leveraged, and it could be a really nice way for product information to be exchanged from brand owners to their trading partners downstream. It can be information such as marketing copy, but it's very basic information as well. Weight, length, height, width, product descriptions, so that you're getting one version of the truth, one source of the truth, which is so, so important as we move forward with exchanging data up and down the supply chain. EDI is used, many of you probably use it. It's tried and true for transactional data. You can really streamline supply chain. You can streamline your delivery processes using the ASN, pre-delivery notice. Potentially, you could look at price discrepancies prior to that delivery happening so that during a delivery, you don't have to wait until that check-in process. You'll already know what is happening and what potentially could throw a red light at you before that delivery arrives. So EDI is used between trading partners a lot, and it really does, it can be even payment, so it can simplify that process, order to cash. And then finally, what I'll go through is EPCIS. I won't go into the nitty-gritty details on this because not a lot of people are utilizing this on a day-to-day basis, but each one of you have the information to utilize this on a daily basis. So this is the data sharing mechanism that will share physical event data, and it shares it throughout the supply chain. EPCIS is being used kind of to enable blockchain today. So I'll leave this here. If anybody wants more information on EPCIS, I will be happy to talk in more detail about it, but really it answers the what, the when, the where, and the why, and everybody already has this information, so it's just another way to share it. So bringing it all together, when you think of identifying, capture, and sharing, this is very basic information, but not everybody does it well today so that we all can share it up and down the supply chain. By using the standards, you are able to do this in a more effective way and leverage what you're already doing. So instead of having one-off, you can do it one time and really have that interoperability on that bottom data exchange throughout the supply chain. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about data quality. So because we have standards in place, that's all great. But you know, and like if we have great data exchange methods using standards, that's all great too. But data must be quality, which means we must have consistent data, complete data, accurate, time-stamped, and standards-based. So this is what I mean. Electronic data and physical data must match. That means what's in your database must equal the actual physical product, whether it's a bottle of water or a bag of chips. It's easier said than done. And I think that it's important that we all kind of look in our own four walls and really say, do I have accurate data or do I not have accurate data? I've worked in organizations where doing kind of a self-assessment on that makes a huge difference, because if you have just 1/8 of an inch off of a package, if you multiply that over time and the weight impact, you could potentially get another truck on a pallet. So data quality is a huge thing. And I just wanted to mention that. I had mentioned Data Hub on one of the first slides. And really this is being used for mid to small size and medium sized businesses. It is an online tool that can help create GTINs and GLNs, and it's available to everybody to use. So if you don't have a huge organizational PIM or ERP, this can help create a GTIN and store it for you so that you have somewhere to do that. So I just wanted to throw that out there as something that's available, as well as you're looking to think about how you can use the standards. GS1 US does have the ability to help you with that. Don't think that you're in it alone by any means. We have training, we have webinars, we can come out to your site, we can just simply answer the phone and answer questions, because this kind of information and these standards impacts how businesses do their business every single day, and we're here to help. And because of that, we are able to talk about things that are happening. So digital disruption, these are the buzzwords: conversational commerce, unique ID, blockchain, image recognition. And Reed Jackson gets to work on all of this fun stuff from a GS1 US perspective. So Reed, I will hand it over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Liz. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I sure can.
All right, perfect. Just wanted to double check. So yeah, I do have the privilege and pleasure of working on cutting edge technologies, and I've been doing this for about 25 years now. I come from the IT world, working on computer networks before TCP/IP was really popular, and then working for Cisco systems and rolling out networks in the 90s and moving on to other things. And the last 5 years before joining GS1 US was working on a lot of unsupervised machine learning and big data types of solutions. But what we do at Corp Dev here at GS1 US, if you go to the next slide, we have a team of 10 people, and we break up our responsibilities into a lot of different formats and fashions. But ultimately, what we're doing here is we're working on 3 different horizons of opportunities. And Horizon 1 is anything that can be implemented in the next 1 to 2 years, all right, just to kind of round that out. So it's things that are really kind of eminent, and we do proof of concepts within this Horizon 1 space. Horizon 2 are newer opportunities. It's a 2 to 4 year kind of window that we're looking on. We think we're getting close, and we're rolling to try to move things forward in there. And then Horizon 3 is pretty much anything beyond 5 years. New technology out there. Some people might be using it, but it's not adopted, it's not mainstream. Now, we do see things go from Horizon 3 to Horizon 1 very quickly. And other times it takes a really long time. But this is kind of how we break up our groups, and we have 2 teams. One works on Horizon 1 and the other team works on Horizon 2 and 3. But we're a close-knit group, and we collaborate a lot here. Our real goal is to look at the intersections of emerging technologies, trends, and standards, and how they can help us solve business problems. So blockchain is, its mainstays. Everyone's been talking about it, but we were working on it 5 years ago. So our team was really looking into this 5 and 4 years ago, and then now we've actually commercialized it, where we actually have a dedicated team inside of GS1 US that works on blockchain solutions. So, it just shows how we take something from Horizon 3, move it into Horizon 1, and then make it an operational business within our organization. Okay, next slide, please. So this is where our focused areas are: digital convergence, emerging data carriers. And data carriers are just that, they carry data. GS1 US and GS1 in general, we're technology agnostic. So when we think of a data carrier, it could be a barcode, a QR code, NFC, RFID. It could also be sound or voice. It could be light. It could be smell, odors. So these are some of the other things we start to look at and say, how's this gonna, work? Right now, one of the biggest emerging data carriers is computer vision, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. We also look at IoT, we talked about blockchain, and then there's the digital identity. We firmly believe that if you can identify everything, you can do anything. And we have a physical world and a digital world. And there's no two ways about it. They intersect on so many different levels, and we're seeing some really creative stuff. We work very closely with the decentralized identity group. So you may have heard of SSI, or self-sovereign identity, where we own what we share, and the big corporations don't own what we share, or there's a combination therein. And so there's things related to that, of like identification. When I need to identify myself in order to buy alcohol or tobacco, I show my driver's license. Well, really, all you really need is a verification of my age. You don't need to know where I live. So self-sovereign identity, this is just one simple example of those topics. We also have a subset of technologies that we're always chasing and learning. It's not limited to the group that's below, but these are ones that we're involved with on a daily basis. Whether we're researching with universities or other think tank organizations, or even just corporate America, public and private opportunities and startups, to look at different types of proof of concepts related to these and how it can help our members throughout the United States and the globe. Okay, next slide, please. So we are challenged with providing 8 proof of concepts, and we have a handful around emerging data carriers. We're working with a startup company that works on DNA, and they actually manipulate DNA and create these tags. AnikaBio.com, that's the company that we're working with. So if you want to kind of check them out, it's really quite interesting to what they're doing. But think of it as you have a crop of food. We can actually spray the crop with these DNA that have no impact whatsoever with anything else that's going on within their environments, and we can tag them from the farm all the way through the supply chain for authenticity and other types of things. We're working with a company out of MIT on diamond dust and how they're uniquely using dust from commercial grade diamonds, not really valuable, but they can uniquely identify every star in the universe and every grain of sand on the planet Earth. So this is a very, very high number of unique identifications. But these 2 examples are what we see in Horizon 3 for us. So these are really far-fetched and far out there, but examples of things that could come forward quicker or sooner than later in other cases. We're also doing some proof of concepts around our digital link standard, and I put the link up here for you, and you can download this presentation later. But digital link is a standard that we provide that enables 2D barcodes to have more relevant digital information. So whether it be how to care for a product, how to dispose of product, you know, other things that you want to share, entice, inform. So it's a one-to-many type of offering, taking the physical world to the digital world. It's also really, really well utilized in recall space. So if I have someone, I have a bag of lettuce that's been recalled, it can be automatically put into the system, and at the point of sale, when they scan the barcode, you can get a notification that says, hey, this should have been taken off the shelves, you know, type of scenario. So those are some examples of things. We have autonomous retail, and we're going to talk a little bit more about computer vision here in a second. I think it'll be near and dear to your hearts as to what's going on in that space. And then one thing I don't have up here is another big area for us, and that's circular economy. So it's circular economy is really looking at how do we get more out of what we do. So recycle, reuse, repurpose, resell. We're seeing a lot more asks in this space. We're seeing a lot more legislation being passed overseas in Europe, and we're not sure if it'll come our way or not. But it's also looking at upstream raw materials, the tracking of more raw material information as it comes into a product, and just not the tracking of a manufactured product. And it's becoming lifestyle for some folks as well. They want to know what's in the product and where was the product made, and you know, a lot of other features to it. So we're checking those out as well. So just to kind of give you an example of some of the things. Next slide, please. And I think this is the last slide I have on, you know, what we do is we also run hackathons. We sponsor them. There's a photo here last November in San Francisco. We ran a hackathon. We had 80 different programmers of all different ages from actually all over the world too. I was quite surprised. And we did a trace-a-thon hack, and it was very educational bi-directionally. Us learning from them learning from us, and there were some really cool things that came out of this, but we're always trying to challenge ourselves to solve the next problems that are out there. We run a podcast. Yours truly actually has produced 3 episodes so far that are out there, with 2 more coming this week or next week. And we just started this in January. So if you have an idea and you want to talk, my information is in this presentation. We're happy to talk to you about podcasts, happy to talk about hackathons, different types of proof of concepts, you know, to go on. And the last 2 things I just wanted to point out, there's lots of things that our team does, but these 2, we do run think tank dinners. We call them digital convergence dinners, where we bring about 15 people together, and we talk about the topics of, you know, circular economy, digital identity, decentralized identity, artificial intelligence, and where concerns are, where opportunities are, you know, things that we're not thinking of. And we try to keep this as a diverse group, a group that's representative of IT professionals, business professionals, legal, marketing, operations, because everyone has a different perspective and point of view, but we all have to come together to provide that full solution. And lastly, we actually do sponsor a startup lab, where we bring startups to our community members, make them aware of new technologies that are out there. But once a year, we run a competition, a pitch competition, and we actually hand out a $10,000 prize, you know, to the winners. So next slide, please. So I want to transition here and talk a little bit about trends that we're seeing out there. And I don't think anything that I have up here is alarming to any of you. You're probably all very well aware of it, but I do want to dive down a little bit deeper on them. So loyalty programs have been around for a long, long time, but they're getting much, much more sophisticated. And we're starting to see real impacts on this and benefits. I'm not a huge fan of apps. You know, full transparency, I'm 48 years old. I have 3 kids and a wife, and, you know, very happy life that I live. And I get tired of the apps. And I'm the gadget guy in our family and have been for a long, long time. But we are seeing the benefit of apps that are done really, really well, and that are much more personalized and integrated with other systems to share information. There's always going to be the security concern, We just saw in the news this week that Marriott was hacked. These things are constantly happening. We're always concerned about this, but we still have to lean in and move forward. We're seeing that the really strong loyalty programs are having huge impacts. And I can tell you, me personally, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. We have a lot of Sheets around by us, the SHEETZ organization, and I grabbed their loyalty program. And when we travel, we know exactly what we're getting. We get the benefits and rewards, and we start to get more information from them. So it's something it's tried and true. Your loyalty programs should be tied back to digital coupons. Loyalty programs can also be tied into frictionless checkout, digital signage. Computer vision is an underlying thing that we're going to talk about here. But then more and more what we're seeing, especially in the new norm that we're all living in with COVID-19, last mile delivery is something that's being ramped up significantly. Now, I put this down at the bottom. The C stores are well positioned to survive e-commerce takeover. Grocery stores are significantly challenged by e-commerce takeover. They weren't really positioned for it, and if you guys know this probably better than anybody, but grocery stores run on fine margins like yourselves, and adding e-commerce is an expense to them and has been for a long time. We're still at less than 5% e-commerce to date for grocery stores. Now, this trend is moving up. There's a company that we got engaged with a while back and has now become a GS1 US partner, and it's called Takeoff Technologies, or takeoff.com. And they're using computer vision, AI, and robotics in the back of stores and adding 12% to the bottom line for commercial grocery stores, which is significantly different. And then these are being piloted throughout the globe and moved on. And there's others in this competitive space, but we're starting to see this come into play and grocery stores reacting. But C stores aren't seeing that same type of threat. The different threat you're seeing is Amazon Go. Amazon Go, they have 25 stores out there right now, and the research that we're seeing from Juniper Research and others, they're showing that they're 50% on average more profitable than their C-store competitors. And this is a significant situation. So these are some of the things we're seeing. So I want to move on. Next slide, please. And just talk a little bit about computer vision here. Computer vision, this is a large topic, okay? It's like saying transportation, right? I mean, it's trucks, it's cars, it's skateboards, it's boats, it's planes, it's everything. But computer vision, it's here. This is not futuristic. There are still many futuristic pieces about it, but it is here. So if we go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So it's here, it's now, and it is futuristic. And these are examples you're seeing. The point I really want to bring to your attention is computer vision can be a foundational piece of your businesses moving forward, where it's a one-to-many type of investment. And we're seeing this in a lot of different areas. I'm seeing computer vision solutions, that are extremely expensive and difficult to maintain, and I'm seeing others that are relatively inexpensive and easy to maintain. And it's really about your skill sets and the partners that you get with. So if we move to the next slide, please. So I just wanted to list out some of the use cases to get your one for many. And what we recommend is you look at your business and you pick the one that's going to be the most impactful for you, because you have to make an investment. There's no two ways about it. But then make the right investment as a foundational investment and then layer on top of it. So then there is the almighty, super sexy, frictionless checkout. You have Amazon Go, Sam's Club Now in Dallas, along with the 7-Eleven store in Dallas, which has the similar type features where you walk in, you grab product, and you walk out, and you're done. And it's all connected to your app, and they're using lots of different technology, but the primary one behind it is computer vision. There's also contextual information you can get from computer vision, very much similar to what we're doing with our digital link. And it's utilizing computer vision on a handheld to see the digital link and then share information back, such as, is this going to affect any of the allergies I have? Is there a shelf life to this? Are there any known carcinogens? Are there any coupons that we can get out of this? If I buy en masse, comparative, all the different things that you can get from that. And then there's the advertising, auto payments, shelf inventory, and then the employee side, employee performance. It's utilizing the information to make sure people are safe and reduce theft. And then there's just the demographic information. Who's coming into my store? What's the average age? And you can monetize I'm getting tied up in my words here, but what you can do is you don't have to grab anybody's personal information, but you can utilize this information just to get demographic information. The majority of my clients are males and females between the ages of 25 and 40, or the majority at this location are actually younger or older. And then it's also understanding store locations and what products they really like to buy. This is the stuff that needs to be tied back to your loyalty programs. That's what we're seeing with the big advantage and benefits here. Now, as we continue to talk through this, if we can go to the next slide, I want you to keep that bald guy's picture there. So I am bald and have been for quite some time. With COVID-19 though, just a funny little story, I've been home for 3 weeks, first 3 weeks, and I don't know how long that I've been home that long in a row. And I let my hair grow out and I used shampoo for the first time in 20 years. It was a very funny story in our family. But I share that with you because back in January, I was in San Francisco at a artificial intelligence conference, and I met with some of the folks from 7-Eleven that implemented their own frictionless checkout solution there in Dallas, Texas. And it was very, very interesting to talk with them. They started with a handful of engineers and from start to finish completed a solution within 1 year. They came across a lot of challenges. One thing that broke their system, that broke their computer vision checkout, was bald people. They couldn't tell the difference between the head and the shoulders, and it threw off all their algorithms and all the other stuff. And so it was just quite funny as they were going through their presentation. I was sitting in the front row, and then we talked afterwards. But it's very interesting. So they've built this all on their own. Sam's Club has done the same thing. They're utilized partners and consultants and such, but they're building it on their own. But you can get off-the-shelf solutions. Amazon through AWS has off-the-shelf solutions. They also have their walk-away technology that they're offering up now. Their Amazon Go technology, they're licensing it as well. You have Google that has computer vision solutions, and then you can do things completely custom. All of them require a data set to learn from. Okay, so if you took a can of soda, all right, and you have it in a 6-pack, or you have it single, or you have it in a case, or you have it in different sizes, you need to take images of all of those. And what we're finding as we're talking to people all across the industries, utilizing computer vision for recognition here of product IDs, they're all doing it in their own fashion. Fundamentally, it comes down to the same steps, but one company will take 50 different images of the same can of soda. The next company will take 100 different images from the same can of soda, and we've seen it as high as over 300 images of the same can of soda. Now, it gets a lot more technical after this, because the images, what you'll have is you'll have angles, and then you'll have lighting and shading and other types of color and different types of discrepancies that come into play. And you have to really take this into consideration for all of your stores and different things. So it's really a challenge. And so we've been pushing back on the industry and saying, hey, we need to come together here and to create a new standard for computer vision imagery with inside of retail for product identification. This way, we can all benefit. A rising tide lifts all boats, and we're starting to get some real traction here with folks there. So if you have some interest in this, please reach out to me. We're starting to put some groups together. We're seeing groups from software companies, hardware companies, retailers, CPGs, everybody kind of coming together here, because if one company can do it, it's such a competitive advantage, but customers are going to start to expect it all around. If we can create some standards like we did with computer networking, like we've done with barcode identification and RFID and others, it'll really help us all out. You'll still be able to have your secret sauces and do your different things, but wouldn't it be nice if the soda company provided us with the images once, and we were all using the same things, and we can add from there if we wanted to. Okay. Lastly, I just want to say, it's just when you're looking at, come back one slide, thank you. When you're looking at your solutions, try to plan ahead, okay? Because you might see something that really excites you, but pause, take a step back, look at steps 1 through 10 or 1 through 50 or 1 through 100 of what you think you might want to do, and start to plan a little bit ahead of scalability, access, interoperability, open APIs, support, security, as I said already, but think of some of these other steps so you can leverage your investment and maximize your ROI. I mean, some of the statistics we're seeing is Amazon Go will be a $4.5 billion business by 2021. So that's next year. They have 25 stores in the United States. They started in 2016, and in February of 2020, they opened their first Amazon grocery store, which is in essence like an Amazon Go, but it's completely different. So the grocery store is much larger, as you would imagine from their convenience store. But their grocery store is 10,400 square feet, where their average Go store is between 1,000 and 2,000 square feet, with their smallest being 450 square feet and their largest being 2,700 square feet. But Juniper research suggests that by 2023, the frictionless pay store solutions will be a $45 billion business. And I would say that that is actually even higher now. This research was from over a year ago, and with the current situation of COVID-19, they're going to be forefront and put to the front of innovation and investments. We're seeing it already. Apple Pay has gone up, Samsung Pay has gone up, just because people don't want to touch things anymore, and kind of driving through it. So with that, I'm going to wrap up here. We can get to the last slide for me. And I just want to pose this question to you. I'm not advocating, and thank you for the poll there, Ali, going through this. Not advocating that Amazon Go is the way to go. I'm not saying it's good technology. I'm not saying it's bad technology. We're just kind of interested in what your thoughts are. I know a lot of folks that use AWS, and I know a lot of folks that see AWS as a competitor, or doing different things with a competitor that's not in a co-opetition type manner. So this is just purely curiosity. If you would be kind enough to take a minute and just fill out this poll in the polling option there, and we can share that information with everyone, Ali. As we go through. But that's all that I had for today. We wanted to kind of keep it quick. I know I've spoken a lot. We could go on and on and on about really, really cool things and really geek out, but just wanted to kind of keep some things at a high level and give you a sense of GS1 US has a team with Liz for community engagement and work groups and understanding. We have a standards team to help us with the in and outs of the actual standards and adding to new ones and adding other attributes to existing ones. And then we have our Corp Dev team, which is looking at what's around the corner, what's beyond the UPC, how is business going to be conducted differently in the future, and how are these things going to be intersecting with tech and business problems. So thank you for the opportunity. That's all that I had.
Great, thank you all so much for that presentation. You covered a lot of great ground very quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions. So if anybody has anything they would like to ask our presenters, please type your questions into the question panel. First one that's come through is, can an individual product have more than one GTIN across different retail locations?
So I will take that question. It's an excellent question. So one product, a unique product, should have a GTIN assigned to it. And that should not change across different retail locations. So if you have that can of soda that Reed was talking about, that 12-ounce can of regular soda should be the same in all retail locations. The only caveat to that is if that 12-ounce can of retail soda potentially has a promotion on it for a specific store, that would be a different kind of product, right? That would be different. So the answer, 99.9% of the time, is it should have exactly the same GTIN.
Yeah, just to give you another example on that, you know, you see the soda, to Liz's point, is it's a 12-ounce, 16-ounce, 32-ounce. Those are all different, right, because they're different size. But if it's a 12-ounce can and you have the seasonal, you know, where you see, you know, Santa Claus or packages or different things on that can, that would be considered different too. So it would have a different GTIN.
Great, thank y'all. Another one that popped up is the GS1 data now available via APIs or extract for interface with retailer supplier portal?
So this is a great question because GS1 US does not have any data. So GS1 US provides the standard, the data pools. So in GDSN, they would have data. And then I know what you're thinking from a data, I'm assuming what you're thinking is from a data hub. It would be on to the retailers, to the trading partners to exchange that data. So we as GS1 US do not hold any data. Reed, do you have anything to add to that?
No, no.
All right, well, thank you all very much for the presentation. So far, those are all the questions that we've had come through. If anybody else has any questions that come up later, again, feel free to email us at info@conexxus.org, and we can direct your questions to Liz and Reed and get them answered for you. Thank y'all for presenting, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.